Hello everyone, this video is on meditation, a deeper understanding of meditation, and why is it that some people find it difficult to meditate? Some people try maybe some mindfulness meditation, some gentle awareness on the breath, or sounds, or sensations in the body, or following guidance, but they still find it tricky to set up a daily practice or to feel like they are connecting to something transcendental. And that's different for different people. Some people can follow the breath, they can follow guidance, they can just put their attention on stillness and the mind responds and it does settle down, it releases thoughts, but when it releases thoughts, it's not too much of a distraction to the individual. And that just, if you're lucky, then you can do mindfulness based meditations and drop into a deep stillness. But for a lot of people, they find that difficult, or it's not guaranteed that they will get to a place where they make contact with a certain amount of intelligence, which is contained within the stillness. There is technology, mantra based technology, which is primordial sound based. It's not a religious sound. The sounds don't have any meaning. These are sounds that were cognized by seers of reality who sat in nature. Often it was in nature or just in deep stillness, and cognized these primordial sounds and knew that these primordial sounds or mantras had specific effects on the physiology and could calm the physiology or rapidly unfold higher states of consciousness. Some of this mantra based technology is non human. That's not really talked about. We don't really know what it is or where it comes from. We know it's non human. And that non human intelligence, through a, a real wishing for the human race to upgrade its level of awareness, makes itself known through these primordial sounds that are then passed down through gurus or teachers and lineages and given to certain people who are lucky enough to receive them. Now, most people, when they think of meditation, don't really think about non human technology. They just think, oh, I'll just follow my breath, or I will, go to a guided meditation class, or I'll do a visualization. And all of that's fine. It's all beautiful. But there is a deeper, more unknown level of meditation. I think India specializes in this deeper, more profound, unknown levels of meditation. Um, and it is very different to the mindfulness. If you do get touched by this non human intelligence, your life changes dramatically. It can change dramatically with mindfulness or other meditation techniques, but from my experience, when I have interacted with different meditation groups, the people that are practicing these more transcendental techniques, these lineage based, mantra based techniques, they there's a different quality to them. They seem to know finer levels of reality and transmit those finer levels of reality through their presence. It's as if that non-human intelligence wakes up within their own human physiology and is able to create a really, really beautiful still effect in their surroundings. So, like I said, this isn't really talked about. It's not mainstream. It's not no knowledge. It's not scary. I mean, it depends if you are scared, then that's maybe a part of yourself, an egotistical part of yourself that doesn't want to die or to disappear. Because the idea that you're a human, that you're an individual, can be a safety net at certain point of your spiritual evolution. But then at some point, whether you physically drop the body through death or whether you come into contact with some non-physical intelligence, whether it's a primordial sound based meditation or some other method that you stumble across, you will realize that you're not just a human or individual. And then that ego has to just get destroyed. It's very interesting because sometimes people can be afraid of certain individuals or sense that certain individuals have a very intense auric presence, and that can trigger egos around them to kind of pop or explode and start to de-stress and get angry or afraid of that person. I've noticed that in my life journey around different meditation scenes, that the people that are, I would say, the teachers that are gone, I call them goners, you can usually tell because their eyes are different, can be triggering to egos. And not everybody is ready to have that level of destruction, because we're not dealing with a slow, scenic journey down, like mindfulness. Maybe I'll hit a pleasant place. We can be dealing with something quite profound and life changing and ego destroying, um, unfathomable, and unknown. Um, it's hard to put into words. It makes life very interesting. And this is why I just love India. I mean, it's the population there, their attention is so focused on that transcendental divine quality that rather than going outwards and trying to figure out a way to know more about the world going outwards, in India they go inwards and they just go so deep, deep, deep in. And then certain individuals cognize these sounds and start to know how everything works and be able to transmit that knowledge to other people. I mean, it's just miraculous. And also, when you're in India, there's just such horror and beauty juxtaposed next to one another that it can just be very paradoxical, and then you just have to collapse and transcend through just that opposites, beauty horror, the mind just can't take it, and down you go. And there's a real desire to transcend in India that's then gone on and infected the whole world, because there's no better time to transcend, to move beyond the body into deeper meditative states than when there's chaos in the relative world, when there's suffering in the relative world. And this non-human intelligence knows that there's suffering and has made itself known and given us these technologies and tools so that we can move beyond our body and know that we're not just our body and realize how powerful and interconnected we are. And some of us are hybrids, we're not fully human. And this isn't talked about either. I mean, if you go to a yoga studio, you might have heard of Patanjali's Yoga Sutras, and that might seem very lovely, but nobody really knows or talks about what Patanjali is. Patanjali is depicted as half snake, half human. Um, there's certain places in India that are guarded by cobra snakes. There are certain vaults which you can only open with mantras, and if you do open them, there's billions of, well, would translate into billions of dollars worth of jewels that nobody really knows where they came from. I mean, there's just so much stuff that is just mind blowing. And meditation is mind blowing. It isn't always just a scenic journey down. It can be very mind blowing when you start getting into these deeper techniques. These advanced techniques are so powerful. You don't really need to do ayahuasca. You don't really need to go off and do an acid trip. In fact, if you mix the two, you would probably just throw yourself out of a window or have a nervous breakdown. So that's not recommended. And it was really funny because somebody said to me, "Oh, would you like to do some ayahuasca?" Once you do these advanced techniques, your life becomes an ayahuasca trip. You don't need ayahuasca. And the beauty about these advanced techniques, and I'll do more videos on them, you know, a little, not diving too deep, because if you do decide to do any of those advanced techniques, I won't spoil it for you. But some of these advanced techniques, oh, it just can't be put into words. I think you just have to have an experiential knowing of what that feels like. Um, I probably should do videos on my own experiences and figure out how to put them into words. If I made a summary, it was like I thought I was a human and individual until my mind was blown, and then I realized I wasn't. Um, and nothing's ever been the same since, and my life isn't really my own. Part of the reason I left the film industry was because one of those things happened to me. Um, and so you're thinking, well, what's the benefit of all this? Hmm. It's so painful to be an individual, to feel like you're separate. And what these techniques and these deeper meditations do is they destroy the illusion of separation. They propel you into a state of unity consciousness so that your actions are supported by nature. So your actions are infused with an intelligence in nature. So you spontaneously do what is needed and don't do what isn't needed. And you spontaneously do right action. Because when you're in a more unified state, whatever you do to somebody else, you realize you're doing to yourself. And so to harm another person is very painful because you realize you harm yourself. And so the selfishness gets dissolved. And when selfishness gets dissolved, then the world becomes transformed into a really beautiful place, a compassionate place, a non-judgmental place, a connected place. And really to live a life where you're not unified, when you don't realize how connected you are to everything else, is not really a full life. And so what meditation and this technology does is it gives you your life back through killing you. It destroys the part of yourself which thinks you're separate, and that can feel like a death, and that maybe can be scary and a struggle if you hold on. Just like if you're dying and you want to hold on to your body, it can be a struggle until you let go, and then it's blissful. So it destroys a certain level of life that an individual exists at and unifies so that you become connected to everything in the whole cosmos and beyond. And what better life than that? Than everything everywhere at all time. And it's a show stopping reality. And I really pray that everybody gets to experience this in the body, not just at death. We definitely experience it at death. I've been around people who've passed, and uh, they they always tend to, even if they struggle to let go of their body for a little while, once they let go of their body, then they often go into this space and start seeing and hearing celestial things, and often say, it's so beautiful. And it is so beautiful. And so I thank the intelligence, the non-human intelligence, and the technologies that are non-human that have come to the planet. And I wish for them to be available to those who are interested so that they can move into a more unified place and realize how beautiful life is in those finer levels. And for everybody to remove any strain or stress so that they can be sensitive to those realities. And even if it isn't through a transcendental meditation technique or an advanced meditation technique, let's move to a new world where we might not even need meditation to get to a deeper understanding. May the vibe be raised so high that we all realize how non human and interconnected we are with all beings for all time.